Rodrigo Constantino, as Andrew Darling says, he would frame this around values. But does race have to play a role in this? I mean, you take Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro, for instance. He's a populist, a nationalist. He's made some racist comments about the country's indigenous population. Is there an element of race in all of this?
Actually, I don't think so. I think, of course, we should be worried about some excesses. But I think, in a sense, it's a healthy reaction to the cosmopolitan liberalism that closed itself in a kind of bubble, too left-wing bubble, and ignored some values with the help of the mainstream media. So Brexit, for example, is against not globalization itself, but globalism, which is a different phenomenon. In Brazil, I think Bolsonaro is a reaction against the left-wing government that almost destroy our democracy and destroy our economy. And the same goes for Trump in the United States. And the economy is growing, the minorities are protected in a sense, there's not fascism going on. So yeah, in some kind of excess, there is the white supremacist guys that are probably together with Trump or Bolsonaro in Brazil, but they are not the majority, they are not a bunch of deplorables, as Hillary Clinton said. They are people, regular people, ordinary people reacting to a lot of wrong things that were going on in those democracies.
These are things that we also need to consider as well.
Yeah. Rodrigo, one of the features that is, and I'm talking broadly, one of the features that we see that is common to nationalist leaders in this day and age is their skepticism about climate change. Let's listen to Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro.
We cannot sign an agreement whose objectives are impossible for us to achieve. After all, Brazil does not owe the world anything when it comes to environmental protection.
So there we hear the president of Brazil telling us that Brazil doesn't owe the world anything when it comes to climate change. But most climate change scientists and activists will tell you that, will point to the crucial role that the Amazon plays in actually reducing carbon levels throughout the world. So has Jair Bolsonaro got something wrong there?
Yeah, I think it goes for the difference between globalism and globalization, and their sovereignty that is in risk here. Those countries are fighting for their rights to decide their policy. And the climate change issue became a very international way of creating a kind of global government that's going to interfere and decide every detail in each country. So people don't accept it. They don't buy for the alarmism regarding the climate change issue and all that. So again, if you go to extremes, nationalism is against other people, patriotism is for your people. I think the same goes here. It's not that the country, the Brazil, is not they don't care about what's going on in the climate change in the world. It's just that they don't want Macron and France deciding about our Amazon forest. And I think it makes sense, actually.
Attribute the rise of a leader like Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil. I mean, is it a cyclical thing in Brazil that the pendulum shifts from left to right and then back to the left again?
It was about corruption in the left-wing party, in the government. It's about values. It's about the mainstream media that's become too far to the left. So I think it's a kind of reaction. In a way, it's a healthy reaction. In another way, no. And also it has a lot to do with the social media. I think we cannot ignore that. The social media put democracy, representative democracy, on check. And people now have a way to come together and try to fight those mainstream media and the elites. So I think the populism has a lot to do with that. What I'm afraid of is the tribalism. Is that mentality that is binary, like me and you, and we are against each other all the time, so there's no room for dialogue and to reach a kind of agreement. So that's what worries me, not the patriotism, not the right-wing government. It's not a big deal. So I think we need to consider the social media impact as a factor and also tribalism as a risk.
I agree.